I should actually get Steve in here right now. He's in the backyard with his daughters having swim lessons.
Oh my gosh.
Steve Nash is at your house right now?
Yeah.
What?
His daughter's doing
okay.
swim lessons.
What's up, everybody? Welcome on into the call up and our AT&T 5G virtual studios. I am your host, Jillian Sakovitz, and that is my best friend, Susanna Collins.
What's up?
Euros just wrapped up.
No,
Gold Cup is here. Copa America
something
wrapped
to
up.
discuss on that note.
Do you have a soccer hangover again?
Massive soccer hangover.
Oh,
Massive
yeah.
soccer hangover.
The best kind of hangover.
It's crazy. So I'm at my parents' lake house, and they have been subjected to hours upon hours of soccer matches. And literally they'll walk in the room and they're like, there's another game on. And I'm like, yep. But I'm not mad at it. I'm definitely not mad at it. But I just, my brain, like I'm dreaming about it. It's just I'm literally like dreaming in formations at this point. And it's a lot. It's been a lot.
Sure. But you know what it is,
But I'm okay.
Suze? You're a professional. and now that you're bunking up with your parents, they're seeing like, oh, you have a real job.
Yeah. I have to pay attention to this
Yeah.
stuff.
Like, oh, you really watch soccer. You know what?
Yeah.
You're doing God's work though. You're growing the game one mama at a time.
Yeah.
So
and I
thank
think
you for that.
I'm very grateful to my father has really embraced
And
soccer
one John at a time.
and enjoys it. My mom is she's getting there, you know. We're there's some room to grow for Susan, but
Sure.
I feel like by the end of the summer she's just going to be fully on board the football train.
It's funny you say that. Like my dad definitely was the soccer dad in the house growing up. And my mom really just wants to know like, oh, Jonathan Mensah's on which team? Joseph Martinez is on which team? I'm like,
Yes.
no, so these are like international. So like, hey, but the name recognition, the MLS fandom, I'll take it, sister.
Absolutely. Yeah. See, we were a baseball, basketball family growing up. So it was like, you know, that was sacred. And now there's this new sport that Susanna is super, super into and involved in. And so it's kind of, she's still adjusting, but there's time. And it starts with those little personal connections. So yeah. I love that she's giving shouts to Jonathan Mensah. I think that's adorable. He's the best.
Well, this is Copa
Also,
America.
I think today is
so
his
he's
birthday.
Not playing.
Jonathan
Happy
Mensah's
birthday. Jonathan Mensah.
There we go. We have some really, really cool here for this week. So let's dive right in.
Let's.
Shall we? Okay. This could not be cooler. I'm just going to say it right off the bat. We are both so very here for this. You might have heard of this guy, Common, you know. He's kind of a big deal. So he has teamed up with Steel Springs Pictures to produce Rising Above. Okay. Josie Altidore, DeMarcus Beasley, Mo Adu, Oguchi Onyewu, and our very own Charlie Davies. They are all executive producing and financing this film. And it's going to be about how Howard University's soccer team was stripped of its champion title by the NCAA in 1971. And their coach, Lincoln Tiger Phillips, how he fought for redemption. I mean, so this guy is incredible. I didn't know about this team. I did not know about this Howard team until I watched the episode of The Movement that Kalen Carr produced, I think a couple seasons ago. It's the DC episode. And he sat down with Lincoln Phillips and he spoke about that particular team and how the NCAA stripped that away. And this was right at the surge of the civil rights movement. And he spoke about, you know, it was right around when Martin Luther King was assassinated and talk about a trailblazer. This guy was fighting the good fight from the get-go and had everything stacked to get to him. He is so important. He's so important. If you haven't watched that episode of The Movement and you don't know about Lincoln Phillips, like I really did not, please watch it. It's so good. And I could not be happier that they are going to make a movie. This is one of those stories that's like, it needs to be told. It needs to be told. And to have the backing of Common, the backing of all these incredible soccer names it's such a feel-good story. And I'm so happy that people are going to see it.
I'm happy it's happening. I'm so happy when I saw this announcement. And to your point, I never even knew about this team until Kalen Carr brought it into my life. Mm-hmm. But how unokay is that That was 50 years ago, and still you could go probably ask a bunch of people out on the street and people don't know. And while it was 50 years ago and it was a very long time ago, and it's like, how do people not know about this? On the flip side, it's also like, it wasn't that long ago. When you hear the story of the NCAA ripping a championship title from this soccer team, you think, oh, that must have been a century ago. That sounds archaic. So it's so interesting how in some ways it feels so like it's been too long, but then also not long enough. So,
and then a few years later, they won it again. I mean, like, they were just that good. They were such a good team. And it's just criminal what happened to them. But this guy, Lincoln Phillips.
Look forward to learning more about that. You can watch Kaylin Carr's Untold History of Soccer in DC on the MLS YouTube channel on MLSsoccer.com as a little aperitif for when this common piece debuts. Shout out to my coworker Moadu. Love to see it. Also love to see some debutantes for the U.S. men's national team. Gianluca Busio had a strong debut in front of his home crowd at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City. Proud mamas over here. Alex Roldan scores the game winner on his debut for El Salvador. James Sands debuts as well. That was New York City's first homegrown signing ever to play for the national team. Also, shout out to Queen Latifah's cousin, Eryk Williamson. It was just... Yeah, I'm sitting over here like a proud mama, I gotta say.
And they all did well.
Great.
That's what, because I will be honest, it wasn't like this like flashy win from the United States. I mean, they scored early, and then it was kind of like, But all of those young men played so incredibly well in their debut. When Gianluca Busio fired that rifle, that almost went in, the keeper made an incredible
pulled at my heart.
I literally was like I was out of my chair. But I have such a cool story too. This is so neat. So my cousin, who I've talked about, is besties with Gianluca. They grew up together in Greensboro, North Carolina. My cousins are driving across country right now for a big family reunion in Colorado, and they made a little stop in Kansas City to watch Gianluca make his U.S. men's national team debut. They sat with his incredible mom, Dion, and after the game, Gianluca came over and is hugging my cousin, Ronan, and they sent me these photos. Like, Ronan literally texted me and was like, these pictures, and I mean, it just gave me all the feels. The fact that this huge moment for Gianluca was being shared by not only his hometown fans in Kansas City, but like his family, like his bestie from North Carolina. I was
we
so
need
proud.
Some of that. Yes.
So darn proud. So big love to Gianluca. We're so proud of you. Next up. Okay. As we mentioned, as part of our soccer hangover, it was the Euro finals, England versus Italy, which was an incredible
everything
match.
You could have hoped for.
Literally, I mean, it
Except
was. Oh
that
God,
final
I had, and it's one of those where it's like you've no vested interest in one of the teams. Like I wasn't like really pulling for either one.
So me neither. But by the end, I was rooting for England.
I know.
I gotta tell you, they caught me emotionally during that game. I don't know what it was, and like it just England just got you at the end, and I like wanted to cry for England too, and I went into it with no allegiance.
It was, I know,
but
exactly. But
don't be mad at me, Italians.
I have such a love-hate relationship with the penalty shootouts at the end because they're so dramatic and exciting, but they I could barf. Like I could literally barf watching them. And when somebody misses, it just it literally just hurts me to my core.
It was hard
anyway,
to watch.
Great game. But one of the standout moments of this match was when the camera panned to an Italy fan in the crowd. This girl, and I believe maybe her boyfriend, I don't know who this guy was she was with, but she is literally dressed up as a slice of pizza. A slice of pizza. Yeah. And the guy next to her is dressed up as Mario from Super Mario Brothers. I mean, this was just you are taking it to just crazy extremes in your fandom if this is the display that you are willing to put on. And my question is Italy won. So, celebrate in all your pizza glory. what if they had lost? And then she's got to leave Wembley Stadium dressed as a friggin' slice of pizza. Like, that's a big risk.
Sure.
But I don't think.
One, I would take it off and I just I'd hold it and I drag my flat pizza out. Two,
I hope she thought that far ahead.
Life could be worse. You just went to a European final. You're okay.
But what an odd choice. Time now for our AT&T 5G call to the field. We are so happy to bring in a guy who, let's be honest, he has done it all. When it comes to soccer, he has repped the United States for 25 caps. He's played in the Olympics. He's played in World Cup, played in MLS, the Premier League, and now he is one of the leading voices in soccer as the lead game analyst for Fox Sports, the one and only, our very dear friend, Stu Holden.
Yay! What a great intro. I love that. Can we do that again? So
I practiced that.
We'll record it, play it whenever you need it.
Yeah, that's just the clip I need, and then we'll just keep retweeting that.
Literally, I mean, it says it all. But seriously, you literally have done it all, including you are fresh off of calling the first match of the Gold Cup, the U.S. men's national team, a 1-0 win over Haiti. Now that you've had a couple days to kind of let that performance sink in, what were your biggest takeaways from that match?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges always when you're calling games and you're so immersed in the U.S. men's national team, and there's so much excitement about this team right now, right? And so many MLS players involved in this group specifically, is that when you're calling the game, it's trying not to get caught up in the emotion or get drawn in by social media type conversations and opinions on players, and A, call the game, but also B, always have perspective. I think that's our number one challenge. And one of the things John and I focus a lot on is okay, contextually, how does this really fit together? And are we overreacting if the team doesn't play well in the first game of the Gold Cup against Haiti, and they've only trained a week together, and some of the guys got in a couple days ago? So look, it wasn't a great performance from the U.S., but I think they recognize that. And I think in many ways it's given Greg Berhalter more to think about going forward, and an understanding of, okay, maybe I thought it would go this way, but we can try these types of things. And then you saw some guys come off the bench for the last 15, 20 minutes and look really exciting. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my God, that's who we need to see on the field. So it's going to be a slow burn, I think, for this team getting to the point where they're hopefully competing for the final August 1st.
We love some MLS players getting in the mix. It's been an important few months, Stu, for the U.S. men's national team. Gold Cup, World Cup qualifiers coming up. I think back to last month with Nations League, and it was like we just needed that little moment, that little win over Mexico to be like, woo, we're good, everything's fine.
Yeah.
But what do you need to see consistently from the U.S. to make this fan base hopeful?
That's a good question. It's actually one we talk about in the production meeting heading into this tournament, because look, nobody at Fox, especially in the way we're covering it, is not saying this is the A team. You know, it's not Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic and Tyler Adams, Gio Reyna, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, but these are a number of guys that are fighting for roster spots. And the challenge is for the U.S. men's national team, for the first time in a really long time, everything you said there, you go back to the Nations League, there's genuine excitement about this team. These guys are balling at some of the best leagues and teams in Europe, and we have not had that in a very long time. And it always makes me think of the U.S. women's national team. I got my Megan Rapinoe jersey up behind me and my Alex Morgan shirt on. But look, the reason people get excited about that team is because they win, and they win consistently, no matter the opponent, no matter the team on the field. And I think for the U.S. men's national team to be viewed in a similar lens, and that hey, we're actually a good team and we can compete with the best teams in the world. If it's your A team, if it's your B team, you need to be winning. People care about you when you're winning. It's a sad reality of sports. And I think for this national team, the challenge is going to be in the Gold Cup with not your best players, at least the top, 8 to 10, is how do these guys maintain that momentum and win a trophy at the end of it? Because it's all about winning a trophy, and it's not going to look the same, but really it's about competing and continue to build a culture. So I think that's the most important thing that I'm taking away from this tournament, and who can emerge as individuals and say to Greg Berhalter, hey, I need to be in your squad come World Cup qualifying September.
Who's one guy who you think that will be that person?
Ooh, so there's a couple guys I'm looking at, and I'm thinking like realistically who could work their way into that group. Yeah, because I think if I said Sebastian Lletget or Kellen Acosta, like everybody would say, okay, those guys have been with this team. So I'm going to focus and kind of narrow this down to guys who are making their debuts or have less than 5 caps. So
I like it.
Yeah,
I like these standards too.
Yeah, we have to always narrow it in here. Daryl Dike's one I think we all have seen emerge over the last year or so, and I even feel like I'm kind of cheating saying that. So I would say between Eryk Williamson and Gianluca Busio. So Busio came on the field, and I know, look, he's at home in Kansas City, and the last 20 minutes in a game that against Haiti is not where you're going to judge him. I'm interested, and I hope he gets to start in the second game because we get to learn a little bit more. And it feels like a great spot for him to just kind of, in Kansas City, the crowd's chanting his name the entire time. It's almost like they forgot about the other 10 players on the field, but every time Busio touched the field, people got excited. And then James Sands. So I would, can I say 3, Jill? Does that count? Am I kind of cheating there?
The parameters.
Yeah, okay, good.
3 guys, under 5 caps. Yeah.
No rules. No, I mean, but all those guys, Gianluca especially, like they changed the complexion of the game when they came in. All of a sudden, the attack looked a little bit more dangerous, and that's saying something for a kid making his U.S. men's national team debut. So I love that take. Stu, what about Canada? Okay, we got to talk about our neighbors to the north.
# what about Canada?
What about Canada? What about Canada? Well, we don't talk about them enough, but there are quality players on that roster. Tajon Buchanan, Kyle Larin. What do you think their expectations for the Gold Cup are?
I love me some Canada too. I've been impressed with how much Canada have improved over the last 3-4 years at least. And hey, MLS deserves a huge nod to that because a number of these players are playing in Major League Soccer or have played. A guy like Kyle Larin had a great season with Besiktas last year in Turkey. And where was he before? Orlando City. We're not going to talk about how that ended. But look, this is a team minus Alphonso Davies, minus Jonathan David is kind of a big loss. For Canada, they don't have the luxury that the U.S. do at this point with depth, and you lose 2 of your best players. It's going to make it difficult. We're going to find out a lot about this Canadian team when they play the U.S. And that, I think, is going to be the biggest measuring stick for them because Haiti are a tough team. They play them in the middle of the week. Then they play the U.S. at the weekend. But with the players that you even listed there, Susanna, this is a team that's going to be difficult for the U.S. And a roster I looked at the beginning and I said, I could actually see that game being a tie between the U.S. and Canada. And then it would come down to goal differential of who's going to go on one side of the bracket and who might meet Mexico in the semis. So that's why the stakes are going to be really high come the time that U.S. play Canada. So maybe can we talk Sunday and I'll tell you how good I think they really are.
Circle back.
We'll circle back. Let's talk about you, Stu Holden, and correct us if we're wrong, because it does happen from time to time. You were born in Aberdeen, Scotland, lived there before moving to Texas at age 10.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
What are some memories you have growing up in Scotland, and how influential was that on the fact that you became a professional soccer player?
Yeah. It's, people forget, I think, that I was born in Scotland, or essentially I'm a dual national.
Yeah.
And
do you have a passport? Do you have 2 passports?
Yeah, I've got my UK passport, and I mean that was actually ended up being the golden ticket for me to be able to go back and play in the Premier League at that time, because it meant I didn't need a work permit and have to go through all that different stuff. I'm incredibly proud of my Scottish heritage. I feel American, if we're being honest, and I've been here for so long now and so ingrained in the culture. I've represented the United States at the national team level. I try to think back to memories as a wee Scottish lad back in Aberdeen.
There it is. I was hoping we'd put a little Scottish brogue in there.
I got married in a kilt. Kara, it was the hardest thing for my wife when I was like, look, I'm getting married in the kilt. And she's like, I love your heritage, but the kilt's just, your tartan's a very ugly color. It's hard she's like, it's hard to match with our theme and our wedding and my dress. And I was like,
so it wasn't about the fact that it was a kilt. It was about the fact that
it was just like, she just wasn't a huge fan of my tartan. So she was less concerned about my dress and her dress, we ended up finding she had like a nice ombre kind of green teal dress.
There's
and
always a way.
Yeah, of course there's a way. But look, I think my greatest memories living in Scotland were all, to your point, Jill, is like soccer. And that shaped my football, as it shaped my love for the game. I played from the earliest possible age I can remember. I used to go to Scotland games at Hampden Park. I went to Aberdeen, the Dons at Pittodrie Park. I went to all of those games growing up. I was part of the Aberdeen youth soccer scene. And, then when I moved to the US, I got off the plane in Beaumont, Texas, and I got invited to play in this soccer tournament. So I went from Scotland, maybe, 5 degrees, landed in Texas, invited to a youth soccer tournament, played in this tournament. It was 110 degrees. It started raining in the middle of the game. Then there's mosquitoes and it's humid. And we went to eat McDonald's at halftime.
Welcome.
I was thinking, what is happening? So yeah, lathered in sunscreen. It was quite the experience.
Wow. You dropped in the little Scottish accent there. At what point, like, did you have a Scottish accent when you moved here? And were kids like, what the heck? Like, how long did it take for that to kind of gradually
I was like
disappear?
The cool Scottish kid with an accent for about a year. And
you would have been so cool. And like, I would have been like,
I was like, all right, darling, how are you? I'm Stuart. I've just moved here from Aberdeen. And then, like a year later, it's like, hey, my name's Stu. I'm from Scotland. And they're like, now you're just joking. And I lost the cool factor and lost all my friends. So sad times.
This show, we dig deep. This is like, it's like a therapy session, but also like a happy hour.
I've never really dug into these stories before.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Question, just totally, you could tell us, why Texas? What took you guys from Aberdeen to Texas?
My dad was in oil. So we, Scotland, Aberdeen is notorious for oil. And then Houston, Texas is a huge, massive oil town. So I mean, honestly, we were only supposed to be here for 2 years, and then it turned into 5. And then, so that took me to 15. And then my soccer career started to kind of, trend up. And so we had green cards, but we didn't have passports. And I'll never forget. So I'm on the U20 trip. I got invited to the U20 national team, and it was already now in this point, like in the works to get our US citizenship. And they kept asking, like, when's it going to be done? And when's it going to be done? And sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So I represented the US, and we were in a tournament in Korea, my first ever tournament, with Thomas Rongen as the coach. And he tells this story. It's hilarious. So then we go straight from Korea to Ireland, and we get off the plane in Ireland. We go through immigration. I have my UK passport only, and my US passport wasn't quite there yet. And Thomas Rongen, who's Dutch national as well, he turns around in the line, and I'm stood behind him in the European passport line, and he's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I have a UK passport. And he's like, you don't have a US passport yet? And I was like, no. And he goes, that's kind of a problem.
That's a problem. You're like, can I still play though?
Yeah. Well, and then so January came around, like I played for 2 more tournaments, and my passport still hadn't come. And then Ziggy Schmidt, rest in peace, our wonderful, legendary US coach, he took over, and he said, Stu, I can't call you in until you get the passport now. So I didn't go to the U20 World Cup, where we played and actually played against Messi. So my dad at that point was like, okay, we hired, the immigration lawyers more, and I got my passport in time for the Olympics. To be able to go to the Olympics. So
thank God. Well, it's funny because, Texas ended up being where you had your MLS glory days, some incredible teams that you played on. With the Houston Dynamo, you were an all-star. You were named to the best 11. When you look back at your time in Houston and some of the incredible teammates that you had during those stretches, what kind of stands out? What are the memories that you always sort of go back to?
I think the best thing I can say for that Houston team is that all of those guys are friends to this day. Yeah. And some of my best friends, I mean, like Brian Ching is a guy that I talk to, 5 times a day still. And, Boswell, Chabala, Ayani, Dero, just like down the list, these guys are still really good friends. And that's what made that team special. That's what separated. And we, going back to the US, like, with this Dynamo team, we won. I mean, we were a really good team. Our first 2 years in Houston, we won the championship, and it was just a fun ride. You know, Dominic Kinnear, my first coach, first professional coach. He's still a great friend to this day. He texts me and trash talks me during broadcasts and questions things that I say. And we have this, fun bantering relationship. And I think back to that, and it's just such fond memories of winning championships for my hometown, for Houston, Texas, and having my family be able to come to all of those games and experience that with me. And it really set me up those 4 years there to go on and have the career I did in England and play in the Premier League. Actually, I just saw this. I got my my championship rings here.
Oh my gosh!
Just have this old thing like
casual.
Well, I know this. The fun part about this studio is that it's allowed me to kind of bring out all my
your memorabilia. Oh, those are nice.
Can you see those?
Yeah, I can see them. Yeah. Oh, those are sweet.
Stu, you also, aside from having an illustrious career playing and broadcasting, you also kind of casually own a soccer team. You'll just post about being in Mallorca sometimes. Also, like, good place to buy a team, yes.
Yeah.
With your good friend Steve Nash as a part owner. How did that come to be, and how does one literally invest in a team? Like, how does that happen?
I should actually get Steve in here right now. He's in the backyard with his daughters having swim lessons.
Oh my gosh.
Steve Nash is at your house right now?
Yeah.
What?
His daughter's doing swim lessons. Steve, we're best friends, and we have been for a number of years, and we played pickup soccer all the time together. And, after one of the games, we were sitting around talking, and he said, "Hey, I had a call from Robert Sarver and Andy Kohlberg, two of the owners of the Phoenix Suns, and they were interested in buying a soccer team, and they wanted Steve involved because Steve loves soccer and he played for the Suns, and they had a great relationship." And he said, "Hey, I think it would be, make a lot of sense." I talked to them about bringing somebody who has played in Europe and knows the game. He said, well, which I will take as a compliment. And he said, "Would you want to be a part of this project and invest in the team?" And I was like, yeah. I mean, how many times do you have a random conversation where somebody asks you if you want to buy a soccer team in Europe? And honestly, I can tell you, it has been one of the best things I've ever done and been a part of. It's so rewarding. I've learned so much about the game off the field, having been a player for so long and still involved in a big way in broadcasting, but to kind of see it through a different lens and ride these highs and lows. And we've had relegations. We had 2 relegations, and we've had 3 promotions, 2 of which have been to La Liga. And most recently, we just got promoted back to the top division in Spain. And it was such a thrill watching that game. I was so nervous the whole season.
Oh my God.
Actually, this last time we did it the normal way. We didn't have to go through the playoffs. So it wasn't as dramatic, but still such an incredible feeling. And actually, we're going with the families in 3 weeks. So as soon as the Gold Cup ends, we're heading back over there. It'll be my first time there in 2 years because of the pandemic and the inability to get over there. So I cannot wait.
The boss has to check in. The boss has business to do in Mallorca.
Exactly.
Hey, guys, I got to go check on the team in Mallorca.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Me too.
Honestly, Stu, like, your life just sounds pretty darn great. And I'm like, you are such an incredible guy too. So like, it's not like, darn it, but it's like, oh my God. Like, I literally, like, I'll watch like your Instagram posts, Steve Nash just like hanging out. Like, once in a while we'll get like a Chrissy Teigen and John Legend sighting. And it's like, oh my God. Like, are these people, are your A-list friends, like, are they soccer fans now? Like, have you gotten them involved in this? Like, because it's only good. It's only good for the game here. And I feel like you are our like best ambassador for this sport because you have access to.
It's weird though. People. It's weird where life leads you, and trust me, like, I know externally at times, and we all put different stuff on social media. So of course it's like, I do. I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of, that feels normal, but like. I don't always post the 5:30 a.m. when I'm up with the kids and I'm like this, like just looking like a human that doesn't have a soul. And it's so rewarding, honestly, being a parent. But it's led, even to this, these friendships that we've developed. And my daughter became best friends with John and Chrissy's daughter, and we've become really great friends with them. And my wife went traveling, and it's just like, Yeah, but ultimately at the end of the day, everyone's like, hey, what? So it's soccer. Like, tell me about soccer. And I'm like, oh yeah, here's your MLS team you need to support. Like, we're going to the women's game, and you need to be watching MLS on a Saturday, Sunday. You're gonna watch the national team. Here's who to look for. So it's all like, we know we're all in soccer, right? Like, we need to at all times be selling and bringing people into the 100%. Sport, because once you get that little taste of it and you understand it, it's an addictive drug.
You're doing God's work. You're doing God's work.
One person at a time. We're all spreading the gospel.
Suzanne and I talk about how we convince our moms to watch MLS, and you convince John Legend and Chrissy Teigen.
Basically the same thing.
We're all the same. We're all exactly the same.
My mom was texting me last night. I was doing Guadeloupe against Costa Rica. And she's like, are you on the post-game show? Because I'll hang around for the second half. And I said, yeah, I am. And so then she's watching Guadeloupe, Costa Rica on a Monday night. And then she texted me because then the post-game show became one segment because it got low. And then so they were like, hey, we're going to just do the post-game. You're clear. And my mom texted me at 8:50, and she's like, where are you? I'm like, you're not on the post-game. What's happening? And I was like, well, here's what happened. She's like, I watched that for nothing then.
God bless them. God love moms.
It's the best when they just really want to watch what you're doing.
Yeah,
I know what it's about.
And that's why she doesn't always like when I call the game. She wants to see me in studio because she wants to see
she wants to see her son's face.
Yes.
You mentioned your kids and being a dad. We live for kind of like the fun and the jest that you use in posting about your kids and your wife, Carolyn. And just balancing everything. But you've also showed that your daughter can show off some serious soccer skills. Stu, so what's the scouting report? Where do we kind of see her on the field? Like, where are you thinking?
Are we like talking to prospective agents here, or because I've had
we're talking like we're going to show this to her in 15 years.
Look, I told Angel City,
no pressure.
I told Angel City, like, Olivia Moultrie just debuted at
15 at age 15
years old for the Portland Thorns, and like Kennedy needs to break that record. So discovery rights are open. Look, it's so funny because I get asked this by a lot of close friends, is like with my kids, because do I want to push my kids to play soccer? I don't want to be that overbearing dad. I would love them to play soccer and love the game the way I do. And
louder still.
Yeah, louder. I do. But so it's fine. It was interesting because my daughter loves princess dresses, and we dress up and we do all that. And she was big into Disney, and now it's changed to JoJo Siwa, and it's all about JoJo and bows in her hair and ponytails. Her biggest moment where she loves soccer, and this is just further proof to me about the development of the women's game, it was watching girls play soccer. Like, it was the World Cup in France in 2019. She sat there and she watched every game, and she wanted her, pink headband like Alex Morgan, and then she wore a blue one because Julie Ertz had a blue one, and she loved jerseys at that point. And then so she wanted all the jerseys, and then she wanted to dress like a soccer player. So it's like for kids too, it's just finding stuff they like. And as soon as she liked it, I was like, okay, how do we give her more? Like, I want to get more jerseys, and I get more from here, and I just take her out and we play in the yard. And it's just kind of like an authentic and natural way for her to love the game. I also have 1,000 soccer balls around the house, so like you can't walk 5 steps without running into one.
Whether she becomes Go ahead, Steph.
Yeah, I was going to say, lastly, we now have a rule in our house that if you nutmeg anybody, then they have to do 5 push-ups on the spot.
Oh my, that's
really
competitive.
That's the greatest game ever. So I'm like cooking her dinner with my legs open, and she just nutmegs me, and she's like, "Give me 5."
Ultra competitive dad. Ultra competitive dad.
I can tell you, still, no matter what, whether she becomes a soccer player, an accountant, or whatever she becomes, she is going to remember those forever, and it's going to shape her in everything she does, and it is the best. So
that's and also like watching her play on the weekends. And one of the great things that has come out of the really crappy 2020 and pandemic is that I haven't traveled as much, and I've been around so much, and I've been able to go to her soccer practices in the morning and then go call a game at night and see and share all those little memories. Cause I don't know how long that'll last or how long she'll want to actually hang out with me. She's 5, like 2 years. She's going to be basically a teenager at 7, the way that girls develop. You guys are way more mature than us. That's for sure. Like girls versus boys at this age is like, oh my gosh.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I can't fight you on that one, Stu.
I figured I wouldn't get pushback on that.
No. All right. So I don't know if you know this about Jill and I and the call up, but we
What?
are basically the official fashion police of Major League Soccer.
Well, Don told us we were. So.
Yeah, we kind of like we've taken this role on. It's a lot of responsibility, but it's one that we.
I've seen it. Lucci's a big fan of the podcast.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes, he is. Yeah. Yes, Lucci, we stand. But we want to, before we let you go, we want to play a quick little game with you, a trip down memory lane. You have been one.
No.
You embrace style. You always have.
You put these all out there, so there's no.
Exactly.
I know. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're gonna play a little game. A little game called Stew or Ew.
I'll probably just off the. Well, you know what? I mean, I did it. I owned it. I'm gonna go back.
And not all of these are ew. By the way,
but stew is the compliment. Like
stew is the good. Ew is the bad. So we're gonna have you kind of self-assess these images and give us a stew or an ew for each one. You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, bring it on.
Stew.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That is a stew.
That is a stew. Florals, big, like green suit. Bring it on. Yeah, love it.
Okay.
Stew or ew? Denim pants, lighter denim jacket, frosted tips, big smile.
I'm feeling that look I had back then, but I'm gonna go ew because like the crutches, and the Euro
clearly
crutches
injured.
And yeah, I mean, I feel like that outfit was kind of hip though with the crutches on, and
I mean, you've got the Canadian tuxedo thing happening.
Yeah, the light jean
like
jacket.
A lot of denim.
The one thing my wife could not stand when we were dating was the like super deep Euro V-neck that I used to wear. And she's just like, no, not happening.
That gets the ew.
I'm with Kara. I'm with Kara on that one. Okay, next up.
Ew, because it's lawless.
Are you watching, Alexi?
Yeah.
Oh, so
I know.
good.
Pieced together 94 kit with the lawless wig. Love it.
Oh, it's iconic. Okay, next up. What is going on here? What is this?
I mean, that was a green screen too, but that look of that wall with, I mean, what is my face doing there? And the t-shirt,
the watch, the hair.
Yeah, ew. I thought by the way, back then that picture came out, that was on my MySpace.
What year was that?
That would have been 2006 or 7.
Okay.
I thought that was like the hottest picture going. I was like, I'm getting all the ladies now.
You looked
Did
like
it work?
You thought it was.
Maybe.
Oh, stew or ew? You've got your Dynamo long sleeve jersey with the orange blazer.
Yeah,
over.
so that is Oliver Luck's lucky orange blazer that he wore, and he wore it for both MLS Cups, and we won both of those championships. And I sought him out as soon as the game ended. I was like, "Give me the jacket, Oliver!" Like I'm rolling around, and I have one of my other favorite pictures. I'm wearing the same thing, but I'm like carrying the trophy and I'm sprinting around the field doing laps and running up and hamming it up with the fans. And
so that's Stu.
Yeah, that's Stu.
That's a hard Stu.
Okay, hard Stu.
Last but not least,
oh
Princess.
my God, Charlie Davies.
All right, let's go
photo.
one by one here. I mean, Kennedy, we know is totally Stu. Stu times a million.
Yeah, Stu.
Charlie, Stu or ew?
No, because Charlie did not commit fully.
No,
he has jeans.
What character is he?
Wait, but
he's Bell. He's got.
He's got that wig. He's got a Merida wig and a bell.
Merida wig. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know. Hey, Suzanne, I know you're a big Disney gal, so you. I mean, I feel like you need to be the biggest critic here. Like that, Charlie. If you're going to commit to being a princess, like get the shirt off, get the dress fully on.
Exactly.
Yeah, high skirt. Own it. He's got some ham hocks for thighs, like Charlie has, the guy had a major surgery, couldn't walk for 6 months and still had bigger thighs than me times 6. So
he's ridiculous. He looks a little ridiculous and the whole thing. And you're right. Yeah. And also like the two princesses know, but what I love is that Stu, you rock a dress. You're like a Harry Styles of the soccer world. And I could not be more here for that.
So Here's a story. I posted this picture, I think, on Instagram, if we're going to probably find it afterwards. But I went to Disney with my daughter dressed as Elsa, but I didn't wear Elsa into the park. Mm-hmm. So I got into the park, and then we wanted to go meet Elsa. So then I put on the Elsa dress with her over my shorts and stuff. So it wasn't like I was, full Elsa. And we waited in line and it took like 30 minutes. So 20 minutes in, then this lady comes over from the park and she's like, "Sir, can we speak to you in the corner?" And I was like,
no.
"Oh, have I won Disneyland Dad of the Month? I dressed as my daughter." Because by the way, like people had come up to me and said, "Oh, that's so great. You're dressing as your daughter." And then she's like, "You're going to have to take the dress off. We don't allow grownups to dress as characters. And actually nobody over the age of 18 is allowed to dress up as a character." And I was thinking in my head, and I was like, why? Like, why can't I just wait 5 more minutes and take a picture? And I do get it afterwards. They explained it to me that people dress as characters and they're, it's their child predators. And so like, there's like that tough line and they have to draw the line. It was kind of a bummer because I wanted to just take a picture with my daughter. So I got pulled out of the line and was like threatened to be kicked out of the park if I didn't change my Elsa outfit. And I was very upset, but I had to put it back on to get the picture for the gram, obviously.
Oh, but you tried.
Was that your idea or your daughter's idea?
Oh, but it was mine, but my daughter, like, but she just, and actually it was weird because not weird, but it's interesting now she's older and we haven't dressed up in probably 6-7 months that I put on the dress and she's like, "Hey, Daddy, daddies don't wear dresses." And I was like, "No, actually they do." And I was like, "And boys wear dresses and, some men wear dresses." And like, we had that whole conversation. It's kind of an interesting conversation to have with a 5-year-old at that point. But we live in LA. It's a very liberal city in that respect, a very progressive, and I love that about it. And we have these conversations with my daughter because I think it's very important for her to understand that and view that as completely normal things. So
that's so great, so important. Stu,
you know what? You're not getting Dad of the Month. You're gonna get Call Up Dad of the Year right now, Stu Holden.
Stamp it. Yes, stamp it. Stu, we cannot thank you enough for coming on. We love watching you. We love listening to you. And you're just an all around awesome human being. And we are very appreciative of everything you do for the game.
We really are.
I've been waiting for the call up, and I'm glad my moment came. And honestly, you guys are very important voices in our sport, but for females covering the sport on the men's side, on the women's side. And I think it's really great what you guys are doing. So thank you
Stu.
for having me.
So kind.
Hey, tell Steve Nash we said hey. What's on tap? Well, more Gold Cup action for you, people. On Thursday, the U.S. men's national team take on Martinique at 9:30 p.m. Eastern as part of a double header with Canada, who's taking on Haiti at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can catch those games on FS1 and 2DNA. Then on Sunday, the action shifts over to Fox, as well as Univision and 2DNA, the U.S. men's national team taking on Canada. This is going to be good. 5 p.m. Eastern. I cannot wait for that match. It's going to be so good. For the full Gold Cup schedule, head on over to MLSsoccer.com. Lots to look forward to.
Oh, yeah. And it doesn't stop there. Susanna Collins, Reminder, join the Extra Time crew this Thursday as they break down the lineups on Twitter Spaces pregame and bring you post-game reactions across all MLS channels. Who knows? Maybe we'll crash that. We'll see. And we've also got a very special interview coming your way next week. I mean, all of our interviews are special. But if you're a Ted Lasso fan, all I'm going to say is Rebecca is in the house and she brought her biscuits. So get ready for that.
Heck yes. Heck yes.
Because Ted Lasso season 2 is coming out. Woo-hoo.
Thank the Lord.
We will see you all next week. Thank you so much for watching.
What's up, everybody? It is Susanna Collins and Jillian Sakovitz, co-hosts of The Call Up. And if you want more Call Up action, hit like and subscribe right here on YouTube, right there.
And also make sure that you download every episode of The Call Up every single Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time or anywhere that you get your podcasts. And while you're here, why not check out some of these other videos as well?